Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, this is At the Helm Sports. I'm your host, Derek Helm. Thank you for joining me for episode 133. Please be sure to follow and subscribe on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Leave those 5-star reviews. If you are watching on YouTube, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Hit that like button in the comment section. Tell me, we're discussing LIV Golf. Who's your favorite bet this week? I know a lot of people don't really care too much about LIV Golf, but obviously if you're watching this, you saw that it was LIV. So you tuned in. Who you betting this week? Because really, are we really watching LIV without betting on it? But I wanted to get out a quick podcast for it. We got LIV Houston this week, and I think it should be a good one. You know, obviously we're leading into the US Open, so these guys want to get in good form here and haven't really played much recently. So I do think it's going to be an important one to pay attention to, and there's a pretty good field here that we can go through, and the course is actually one that we're semi familiar with. We have the Golf Club of Houston actually was the host of the Shell Houston Open for a number of years, so we did see it on the PGA Tour for quite some time, and really I do think that because of that, we can get a good idea of what type of golfers could actually do well here or have done well here in the past. And there's a couple guys I really like here. So going to be a quick one, but just wanted to get something out for LIV Houston. As I said, I think it's definitely important that you pay attention going into a major. Obviously, the Memorial is going on the PGA Tour, so competing with that is going to be a little rough, but I do like this tournament. So we have the Golf Club of Houston, 7,425 yard par 72. We have Bermuda greens. Three of the par threes are pretty long, 193 yards, 218, and 230 yards. The other one's only 163 yards. So really, you're probably not looking at to score too well on the par threes. It's the par fives where you probably want to do a little bit more scoring there. I mean, three of the par fives are 550 to 600 yards. So really not everybody's going to be able to get there in two, but I do think that a lot of the scoring opportunities will come from there. They play as some of the easier holes on the course. So definitely want that. The breakdown of the par fours, we have four of them from 450 to 500 yards, two from 400 to 450, three from 350 to 400, and then we have one that plays around 338 yards basically. So par four, some of them are a little bit difficult, some of them you will be able to score on, but really what we're looking at here is it is somewhat of a lengthy course. So 25% of approach shots came from 200 plus yards when we saw this on the PGA Tour. So definitely want guys that are good with the long irons. 18% came from 150 to 175. So basically, you're looking at those mid irons, or most of them are going to be pretty long irons. So you definitely want guys that are good there. I do think that hitting fairways is pretty important. It, it was basically right around tour average, about 62%. So not really crazy there, but I could definitely see the rough playing a little bit penal here this week, and them trying to get these guys ready for the US Open because, LIV definitely wants that's when all the eyes are on the LIV guys while they're wearing their hats and everything. So they want these guys to show up at the majors. And obviously, the best way to get ready for the US Open would be playing the course close to US Open conditions. So I definitely think that they're going to set this up pretty difficult this week. Now, driving distance, I think, could help a little bit here, but similar to what we're going to see at Muirfield Village, I don't know if guys are going to want to use driver on every single hole. Average driving distance comes in about 281 yards, so a little bit below tour average. So guys really aren't, or in the past haven't really just been bombing it off the tee. Now, granted, we haven't seen this in a couple years with these caliber of players, so maybe things have changed a little bit. But hitting greens in regulation is pretty easy. These greens are fairly large, so just under 70% of greens in regulation are hit. Excuse me. So you definitely want guys that are going to be in the fairway, good with those long irons, and they're going to be hitting greens, but just hitting greens probably isn't going to get it done here because of the size of these greens. Three putts can come into play. So, mainly what you want this week is guys that are good with those irons, but can also make putts. You want guys that are good at lag putts if they're not hitting these greens. And then you want guys that are good making the putts to capitalize on scoring opportunities here. But what we saw the last three times when it was played on the PGA Tour, Lonto Griffin, 2019 was the winner, won at 15 under. So not a crazy score. But then we saw Ian Poulter in 2018, 19 under. Russell Henley in 2017, 20 under. So the course has played fairly easy. Now it's a little deceptive because the winners were up there in 19 and 20, but a lot of the rest of the field was barely in the double digits. So really it could have been an outlier that week where these guys just played that well and were head and shoulders above a lot of the rest of the field. But as I said, I think they set it up a little more difficult here, and we probably see somewhere around that minus 15 number. But I definitely like a couple guys here. One guy that I think is actually kind of sneaky is Abraham Answer. He actually has a top 10 in 2018 on this exact course, has been playing well on Live. I haven't made the outright on him only because I made an outright on Kepka. Kepka's 16 to 1, Answer was 18 to 1. And in what world am I ever going to bet Abraham Answer over Kepka in any golf tournament? So I decided to take the outright on Kepka at 16 to 1. I just going into a major, it's Brooks Kepka, and he should be firing on all cylinders. I think it's a course that could suit him well. He has played here before, didn't really finish too great, but I like Kepka. So Answer, I'm probably looking at a top 10 for him, maybe plus 135, I think I saw. So I do like that. And, he's been had a good amount of top 10s recently on Live and already has a top 10 at this course. So I do like him quite a bit. Next, Louis Oosthuizen. We said you want to hit irons and you want to putt, and that is Louis's game. He's played really well this year. Earlier overseas, he had 2 wins, and then second place finish here recently at Adelaide. Most recently, 22nd at Singapore, but T7 in Miami. A number of top 10 finishes for him. So I like Oosthuizen. I think his game sets up well for here. So far on Live this year, he's second in fairways gained, sixth in birdies made, first in scrambling, second in putting. So everything that you want to see, Louis got it basically this year. Then another guy, this is kind of taking a chance, but I think the course suits him very well. Paul Casey, I bet at 50 to 1 with a top 5 each way. He's first in greens and regulation, hitting 66 or 76% of greens and regulation. That's a ridiculous number. So great with the irons. He's seventh in fairways gained. So he's definitely going to be living in the fairway, which he'll be able to take advantage of those irons. And he's third in scrambling. So if it does play difficult, I do think that he can make up some ground here. And it's really going to come down to the putter with him. It's whether or not that shows up, and maybe he doesn't make enough putts to win, but hence the top 5 each way. And at 50 to 1, I think it's a good number on what, we've seen Russell Henley, Ian Poulter win here. So I definitely think Casey could contend here, but that's really what I'm looking at as far as bets go. Other guys that you could kind of take into consideration, I think Gooch has actually played well at this course while he was on the PGA Tour. So we've seen him show up from time to time on Live, someone to keep in mind. I think this could be a really good course for Dean Burmeister. And obviously he's been playing well on Live. And if you want the iron game, and he's definitely got it. He's got some distance. So I think Burmeister is definitely a good look. I already said Answer. Carlos Ortiz is someone that could possibly show up here. And then someone a little bit further down that I might even still make an outright on is Sebastian Munoz. I saw him at 66 to 1 with the top 5 each way. I think if you wanted to bet him without the each way, I saw him as high as 80 to 1. But it's a course, we've seen him from time to time get hot with the irons and make a bunch of putts. So I think that he could be in play here as well. But that's basically all I'm looking at for this week. Just wanted to put out a quick little feeler for Live. As I said, I think it's definitely important that you at least pay attention to what happens this week. Maybe you don't have to watch, but just check in on these guys because they're going to be playing next week in the US Open. So you definitely want to see what they've been up to. But that's going to do it for this week. You can check out theHelmSports.com. I have my write-up for the Memorial. I'll have all my bets for PGA and LIV in the My Bets tab. Check that out. And then also you can sign up for the newsletter, The Helm Sports on Substack. Get everything sent right to you. Basically, it'll be all my plays for DraftKings, for the Memorial, all my wagers, all my bets for LIV and PGA coming right to your email. So check all that out. But that's going to do it for this week. Thank you for listening. As always, I am your host, Derek Helm. And remember,
just have fun out there.